So, today's lesson is about Chanukah. It's a shiur taught by Rabbanit Marka Piotrkowski. It's dedicated for the uplifting of the neshama of Noah Chaya bat Rab Moshe HaKohen and Avital Racheli bat Shira. In Judaism, we have two kinds of mitzvot. Mitzvot she'azman graman, that are actually affected by a certain time, and mitzvot she'en azman graman, mitzvot that are not affected by a certain time. These two kinds of mitzvot have a lot to do with the definition between men and women and the way that they are obligated in the two kinds of mitzvot. Mitzvot, I can give an example, mitzvot that are influenced by time, like Sukkah, like hearing the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. It's only on that certain day that we have to have these mitzvot. They are time influenced. On the other hand, we have mitzvot that had nothing to do with time, and that is, for instance, the obligation to respect and honor one's parents. It doesn't have to do with any kind of time. It's a mitzvah for all the times, always. And now we have sometimes mitzvot that even though they are affected by time, women are obligated to observe. Chanukah and the lighting of the candles of Chanukah have to do exactly with that. And we ask ourselves, why so? Why other mitzvot like tefillin are not necessarily obligated by women, and the lighting of candles of Chanukah, women are obligated to do? So in the Talmud in Shabbat, we have Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi that says, women are obligated in lighting the Chanukah light, as they too were included in that miracle of being saved from the decree of persecution. They too, she'af hen hayu be'oto hanes, they too were part of the miracle, meaning they were the miracle. The unbelievable story I'm going to tell you from Otzar Midrashim, which is a serious source, is actually mentioned by Rashi on that Gemara within a very short sentence. But the story itself appears in Otzar Midrashim. And I must be honest, personally, I only learned it at my 30s, and I was quite amazed that I didn't know about this story until such an old age. As the Greeks saw the people of Israel were not strongly affected by their commands, they decided upon an awful new law, that every bride after her chuppah would not go into her husband's house as a virgin, but would instead have relations with the local Roman emperors first. And only then would she be released back to her husband. So this is a new awful decree by the Romans upon all the Jews in the empire, that every bride should not go from the chuppah as a married woman to her husband's house. Rather, she needs to spend the first night as a virgin with the local emperor. An awful decree. When Israel heard that, they got weak, lost any joy in life, and they prevented all girls from engaging with any men, to such an extent that the Jewish girls were getting older and older and were still virgins. The pasuk from Eicha became reality. Her maidens are unhappy. She's utterly disconsolate. The Greeks were abusing the Jews, and the abuse continued for 3 years and 8 months. So we need to understand that the situation continued for a very long time. 3 years and 8 months was that situation on. Until the daughter of Matityahu, the Kohen HaGadol, Chana, became engaged to one of the sons of the prestigious Hashmonaim family, Eliezer. As it was her wedding day, they dressed her up beautifully and set her on a throne. This wedding is actually mentioned in a different place, and it is named In ve'agefen be'in ve'agefen, which is a phrase until today in Hebrew, meaning that it's the cream de la cream marrying cream de la cream. Best of the best. Both families, really big families of leaders, of rabbanim, of great people that are marrying each other. So we have the daughter of Matityahu Kohen Gadol Chana marrying Eliezer from Bet Hashmonai, from the family of Hashmonai. When the party started, all the most important people of the time came to the wedding, as it was the wedding that would unify the two most important families of the generation. When the guests sat down to their meal, Hannah stood up on a stage, clapped her hands and drew attention, and then tore her shirt open, standing in front of everyone, half naked, in front of her parents and in-laws. Her brothers saw this and were very ashamed. They made a tear in their shirts and they were ready to kill her. Hannah said to them, "Listen to me, my brothers and uncles. The reason that I stand in front of you all, your righteous people, naked with no inhibition, is because you are ashamed of me. You are ashamed of me, but you are not ashamed of yourselves to give me away to a Gentile who will abuse me. You should all learn from Shimon and Levi, the brothers of Dinah. They were only two, and between them they killed a whole town, a big city like Shechem. They gave their souls in Hashem's name, and they put their trust in the Lord, and He didn't fail them. And you are 5 brothers, Yehuda, Yochanan, Yonatan, Shimon, and Elazar. And you have more than 200 students studying to be Kohanim with you. Trust Hashem, and He will save you, as it is said, for nothing prevents the Lord from winning a victory by many or by few." And she opened her mouth and cried, "O Father in heaven, if you don't have mercy on us, have mercy on your holy name that we are named after, and make our revenge." At the same time, her brothers got together and had an idea. "Let's take our sister to the great king of the Greeks and tell him, our sister is the daughter of Kohen Gadol, and it is therefore inappropriate that she would be with a local leader rather than with the great king himself. Once we are there, in his house, we will kill him and his slaves and ministers, and Hashem will save us." So actually, the daughter of Matityahu Kohen Gadol, Hannah, is starting the revolution by waking up all the leaders of the time. She is standing in front of them on the day of her wedding, half naked, saying to them, it cannot be that the decree will actually continue for so long. It's impossible that you're ashamed to see me half naked, whilst actually you're about to give me away to this Gentile to abuse me. You should be ashamed of yourselves. And actually, I think she's putting a mirror in front of them, asking, how do you describe something that is modest, that is tzanua? Only something that is happening behind closed doors, as long as you don't see it, that's modest to you? That is tzanua? But if I'm standing in front of you half naked, that is wrong? It's exactly the opposite. And they hear her cry and they wake up and they decide to change reality. But they get that through her wisdom, through her cry. And they actually do that. And so Hashem gave salvation. And there was a divine voice from the Beit HaMikdash saying, Israel has won over the Greeks. And the great miracle has happened in these days. Now, wait a minute. The war hasn't finished yet. It only started. But the voice from Beit HaMikdash is already out there saying that the great miracle had already happened and that Israel actually won the war. It's a very interesting thing, and in my eyes, I see it a bit as an educational idea. That once you have a small success story, you don't need to win the war in order to celebrate it. But we, as an educational idea, we should always tell our kids, look how wonderfully you've done. You can do more than that. You already won. You are starting to win. It's a wonderful idea. But as we know, at the time, obviously no internet, no phone calls, no nothing. So the great king is dead, but the entire empire still rules the place. When the local emperor heard that the Jews had killed his king, he gathered a big crowd of his people and he mounted a siege on Jerusalem. The Jews were terrified, and before them appeared a widow called Yehudit. This Yehudit lady is a very famous lady. She is a widow and she is extremely wealthy. She's very known, fairly known. And Yehudit took her maid and went to the gates of Jerusalem and called, "Open the gates for me. Hashem will use me to make a miracle." They opened the gates and she went to talk to the emperor. He asked her, "What is your request?" And she said, "My lord, I am a daughter of the great people of Israel, and I've heard my brother's prophecy that tomorrow Jerusalem will fall into your hands." When he heard that, he was highly joyful. So see what's happening here. Yehudit is doing exactly the same thing, just opposite with the Greeks, telling them, look, you're about to win. One of his trustees said, "I see that the people of Israel are doing tshuva, and therefore you will not beat them. Go back to Greece." The emperor got very angry, and he instructed that the trustee should be handcuffed, saying, "Tomorrow, when we have Jerusalem, we will kill him." And the emperor fell in love with Yehudit and asked her to marry him. She said, "I'm not even worthy to marry one of your slaves, but if it's your will, so be it. All I'm asking for is that you tell your slaves that if they see two women walking to the river, they should let us be and leave us in peace, as I would like to dip in the river." And so he did. And the emperor had a big party with lots to drink, and they all went back to their tents. And as the emperor waited for her to come back, he fell asleep. Yehudit returned and took a knife, cut off his head, and put the blanket over him. She went with his head to the gates of Jerusalem and said, "Open the gates, the miracle has happened to me." The Jews answered, "Isn't it enough that you lay with the enemy? Now you're coming here saying this?" As she showed them the head of the emperor, they immediately opened the gates and cried, "Shema Israel, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad." When the Greeks heard the Israeli joy, they were worried that they would be attacked. So they went to tell the emperor and found him dead without a head in the bed. And they all ran away. This is the story of two incredible women. One is Hannah bat Matityahu Kohen Gadol, and the second one is Yehudit. And one of them starts the revolution, starts the war, causes the men to actually understand that they have to make a change. They have to move forward. They have to rebel. They have to fight against the Romans. And the other one finishes the war, but by actually killing the local emperor. These are the two women that had started and finished the war of Chanukah. And we are all extremely thankful to them, because it's only thanks to them that it all started and ended. And therefore, women in Chanukah are obligated to light the candles of the menorah of the Chanukiah, because they not only were part of the miracle, not only שאף הן היו חלק מאותו הנס, but they actually started it and ended it. And I think, as women, we should ask ourselves, what is it that I'm taking from Hannah? What have I learned from Yehudit? What can I do to be part of a greater change? How can I affect, of course, gently, wisely, in a feminine way, but still, how can I affect a greater change in the world? That is the question that these two leaders are leaving us with. And I'm hoping, Be'ezrat Hashem, that we are all capable and inspired by these two amazing women, that even though they had a lot to lose, I'm sure that standing half naked in front of your entire family, in front of your parents, in front of your future husband, in front of your future parents-in-law is extremely embarrassing. But she did that in the benefit of the community, of the Jews of the time. Be'ezrat Hashem, that we also have these powers and capability of change. Shabbat Shalom, Chanukah Sameach. Thank you.